Good afternoon, guys. So, today we are going to be replacing the carburetor boot for a Honda VTX1300. I've already rebuilt the carburetor on it, and I will drop a link in my bio for that video. I did not have the equipment to make that video when I rebuilt it, but I will for sure drop a link that helped me out. Maybe it can help y'all out. It's I would say it's probably like a level 6 or 7 to rebuild one of these because it's very fine tuned. Especially these Hondas. These Hondas are very fine tuned machines. So the slight little trash gunk hiccup inside that carburetor will not allow it to run correctly. Also, as you can see, I've already got the um, throttle off. I just threw this up here as a mock so y'all can see how to take this apart, get the carb off, get the boot off, the intake, and then we will go from there. I hope y'all enjoy the video. Like, follow, share, comment for more stuff like this. This is my first time going through kind of a tutorial video, so bear with me. It's not going to be um, a professional video. It's a DIY video. Do not um, don't expect this to make you a master technician, because this is a DIY video of how to fix a bike, especially a Honda VTX1300s that is not running correctly and will not accept throttle while riding down the road at a cruising speed. It backfires, pops, and does not run right. And this is how you can diagnose, fix the problems with your bike. So stay tuned and we'll dig into it. All right, so now that I've given y'all an introduction of what we're doing today, um, I'm going to show y'all how all this comes off. So you have your carburetor. Gas line's already off, but it runs right here. You can see there's a nipple right there. It hooks in there, runs across the top of your intake to your petcock that sits over here. You have a cold start deal right here, and you have the mounting forts on the other side. So let's walk around there and I'll show you how to take that off. All right, so this is your cold start lever. It goes across to the carburetor. You can kind of see it right there. And what you want to do is, I've already loosened it, but you want to loosen this back nut up 2 or 3 turns, and then you'll twist it, pull up, and that's all you do. That's it, easy peasy. Here's your vacuum lines. Since we're over here and we've got to take this one off, let's go ahead and do that. I use a pair of long handled needle nose, and I just pull that clamp right there, wiggle it back. And I have oversized vacuum line on this, so it's really thick. It's a high temperature, high durability vacuum line. You can get it off Amazon, I think, for like $7 or $8. So got that off, and then we'll go back around to the other side. All right, so now that we're back around here to the other side, what we're gonna do is, there's a vacuum line right here. I have not put a clamp on it yet, but I will when we reassemble it. So let's pull that one off. It should be pretty easy to pull off. Then we're gonna pull this out and we're gonna set it to the side. We don't want to lose it. Don't want to damage it. Now Now that we've got everything unhooked, you have all the hoses you have up here is your throttle position sensor plug in. So I'm gonna grab a pick and then we'll take that off. All right, so got my pick, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna slide that pick in there and lift this tab up. I don't know if you can see it or not. Let's get a better view. All right, so right here there's a tab, and what you're gonna want to do is lift it up carefully because you don't want to break it, and you're just gonna pull back gently and it'll come right out. Easy peasy. Now that we've got all of our stuff disconnected, pulled out, throttle cable, like I said earlier, was I'd already taken this off. I will show you how to reassemble it. A lot of people take it off of here, out of the bracket. I prefer to take the bracket off the carburetor. That way I don't mess with my throttle adjustments that are already there when I knew the bike ran well. So then you're going to come back here, and with a 5/16 or Phillips from factory, you will, let's see if we can get it to focus. There we go. There's 2 hose clamps back here. You're going to want to loosen the front one off first to get your carburetor off. The second one is the one to the intake. We'll get to that later. Once it is loose, you're going to want to grab it right here and pull down, and you'll feel it kind of give, and it'll come right out. Now, on this one, see how it's red gunk in here? Somebody previously had used RTV sealer to try and seal this carburetor off. No, we don't do that. If your boot is bad, replace it. You can get these boots off Amazon. You can get a 3-pack of them for like 20 some odd dollars. I'll put the link in the bio. All right, now that we have the carburetor out of the way, we're just gonna loosen this bad boy up right here. Like I said, 5/16 socket. I use a drill on a extension because I'm lazy. All right, so now that the carburetor's out of the way, we're gonna take this boot off. I like to use a 90-degree pair of pliers and just kind of get in behind that boot and work it, because it is tight. You're not just going to pop this off with your hands. If you try to and you're successful, more power to you, because it hurts my hands. But once it pops off, just pops off. Now let's inspect it. So as you can tell, it's got a little damage. Let's get it in view here. It's got a little damage. It's also very dry. I don't know if you can see that right there. Let me pop these clips off, and I'll give you a better look into that. All right, now the clips are off. It's very dry rotted. You can see those cracks. It is not supposed to do that. So the reason somebody had used RTV sealer instead of replacing the boot like they should have is there's a ridge right here. It's very kind of hard to see on camera, but you can see right here there's a little hump. All around here it's gone. That's bad. That is an air leak waiting to happen, and I think that's part of my issue. So we're going to throw this away and put a new one on. But before we do that, we're going to take that intake off, because I also have 2 brand new manifold boots for the cylinder heads. So we're about to tackle that. All right, so it's a 5mm Allen key, Allen wrench, hex key, whatever y'all call it, from wherever y'all are from. And what you'll do is you'll just unbolt these. They are difficult to get to. They are not, a super easily accessible bolt. So I recommend a longer shaft Allen wrench versus the shorter ones that you get in all of your like home repair kits and stuff. They'll work. It's just harder to use. So we want to loosen all these up and then take them out. I also recommend a ball end Allen to take them all the way out, because you can kind of get to them at an angle, as you see there in between my fingers. It's just easier. So that's what I recommend doing on these. All right, so a couple of things I forgot to mention. Mine, this particular bike, they have bypassed the carburetor warm-up valve, or carburetor warm-up circulation. It's located on the same side as the throttle positioning sensor. It's this little deal here. All this does is warm up your bike in cold weather faster for the fuel to run better. I don't ride in cold weather. I don't ever have the bike out in cold. So I'm okay with that being bypassed. If you live in a northern climate, you may not want to bypass that. So the video that I'm going to link in my bio is going to show you how to take all of this apart, and you'll see a better view inside of that. But since I have that bypassed, the only coolant hose that I'm going to have to take off of this and pinch is going to be this bottom one. Coolant runs through this intake here, and I'm going to take this bottom coolant hose off, and I'm going to have to pinch it, because if not, you'll lose a lot of coolant, and coolant is not fun to replace in this thing. All right, so get your forceps, and you'll just want to go about midway, clamp that down, and then the bottom here, I don't know if you can see that or not, there's a hose clamp on the bottom of that. So we'll have to kind of go to the other side and finagle it to where you can get that hose clamp off. All right, with it kind of, so this is how it sits in here. You want to kind of raise it up and turn it just a little bit, and then you can see that hose clamp in there. It's just a flat blade or 5/16, or that one might be a quarter. It's a small hose clamp. You just stick it in there, give it a couple of good turns, and you will leak a little bit of coolant. Do not be alarmed. It's not going to be a whole lot. You can top it off really easy. It doesn't take a whole lot from the amount that we're going to leak. Once again, back with my 90-degree pliers, just going to grab that and just ease it off. You don't want to pull, you don't want to grip down on it too hard, because you can tear that, or pinch it pinch it, and that's not good. So now, like I said, it's going to drip a little bit. Don't be alarmed. Now we have this out, so we're going to get our 5/16 socket and loosen these boots up. There's just one clamp on each boot, and they just pop off. They're a little stiff, but yep, just pop them off. Oh, that one's really stiff. There we go. On the bottom side, you'll see it has a big O-ring there. So you can replace the O-ring, but these are 21-year-old. So I just opted to replacing the whole boot, just for the peace of mind of knowing that this ridge in here is good and it's not going to leak, because you can kind of feel that ridge, and there's a few cracks in it. And I do not want to put it all back together and it not run right. So I'm going ahead and just replacing the boots. All right, so like I said, Amazon.com. I think I paid $26 for these boots. Let's open them up and see what they look like. So it has a slightly different clamp style on it. That's okay. I know it's not OEM. Honda actually does not make the black metal clamps anymore for this. For this particular model. They don't make it. So those are trash, because I'm sure they're stretched after 24 years, 25 years, something like that. But these, they look really good. You want to match them up, you know, with the old ones. Grab one. So you can kind of tell this one is definitely worn out. Like it's definitely got some dry rotting going on. It's got a little bit thicker O-ring on the bottom that mounts to the head. This is the new one. But it's still there. It's open. Your hole is the same size. You want to make sure that you get the right parts. Obviously, Amazon's not always the most reliable when it comes to their descriptions. So you want to verify it has all the notches in it that hold everything in place. These look really good for a cheaper set. I would 100% recommend these. They look very, very, very good. And very rubbery too, like very rubbery. That's what you want on these boots. You do not want hard rubber. Hard rubber will crack, it will leak, and will cause you problems. So always, always, always replace parts when doing this, because it takes time to get to this, and you don't want to put it all back together and then go, oh, I have another problem. All right, quick side note, I did realize these new boots, the bands on them have a different size head. So if you order the ones that I'm going to post a link to, that is a 7mm, not a 5/16. So make sure you have some metric too, because a 5/16 will not fit this new band. I just wanted to clear the air. All right. So side note, these are these notches here in this rubber go on the top side of your manifold. So your manifold sits in there like this. You want that rubber like that. Okay. Also, I will, before we get a little further ahead and we get stumped, spin this around, because if you do not, make sure that these are not sitting over your bolt holes, because it will make putting your bolts back in terrible. I promise. Been there on other projects. I promise it will not be fun. So let's go ahead and get these put on. Like I said, you want that notch facing the same way as this keeper right here. So we're gonna lube it up first, because when you're dealing with rubber and it's dry, everyone knows it's a little, it's like tires on a road, you know. You gotta wet it down just a little bit with some little spray lube. So when you put it on, I typically palm it and just kind of press. It's going to take you a couple of tries probably to get it on, because they're brand new, they're tight. But once you get them in, you want to double check your seating all the way around, make sure they're seated properly. And this one looks like it is not quite seated all the way. So we're going to press a little bit harder. There we go. Went in. So we're going to put this other one on, and then we're going to mount this back up. This one on this side, for some reason, does not have that locking tab on it. So you want to be sure that your bolt holes line up. Because if your bolt holes don't line up, you're not going to be able to bolt it down. But if I'm not mistaken, you line this up like this, with it in the same orientation on top. I will verify that here in just a second. So you want to twist it and push it down, and it'll eventually pop on like the other side. This new rubber takes a second. So, all right, we got it on. We want to orientate those properly to where when we put it on, we don't have to wiggle them too much. I am going to wait to tighten these all the way down until I get it in there and mock up to make sure that it's in there correctly, because you don't want to, like I said, get it all in here and something not line up right, not fit right. That's just a bad day. So get it in here, get it lined up. Looks pretty good. So what I typically do is I bolt one side in, and then I'll bolt this side in first, and then I will twist it around to where this side lines up, because it's a lot easier to twist around the side that doesn't have that keeper notch in it. So earlier I said you want to make sure and have the one with the ball on it. This is why. Because you cannot get straight on it. You have to come in at an angle in order to tighten it down. And it's not fun, like I said, if you have a short pair, and it's definitely not fun trying to put this in with your hands, and just your fingers up here fiddling around, because, well, it's not that fun. So before I go and torque these down tight, I'm just going to snug them up lightly, and then we're going to come over here and we're going to work on making sure that this one is lined up properly. Once again, these are rubber boots. They're flexible, so you can move it around a little bit. It's not going to hurt it. It is not going to damage the boot at all. And you don't have to worry about it. But like I said, it's a tight space. I have big hands, so if you're watching this video and you have big hands, I feel your pain. It is not always the funnest to get these little tiny bolts started when you have large hands. So, got that one started. Let me tighten these down, and then we'll go about putting the carburetor boot back on. Okay, and it's really hard to see, but the rear intake boot, the bolt hole for it is down here, and it is not the easiest to get lined up or put on without a large struggle. So you want to work it. I use either my Allen or a screwdriver to get it lined up and then put that bolt in. So I'm going to get in here to show you. Your hose clamps for your manifold boots are right here, and I had them positioned to where I could get to them from the left side of the bike. That way I could just run my handy dandy drill with an extension on it and tighten them up. Now you don't want to tighten them up too much because it is rubber. It will squeeze out, it will tear. You just want to tighten them up enough. So that is all you have to do there. Alright, so I went ahead and took these clamps off just so the rubber is a little bit more pliable and stretchy to get on here. And then you want to just kind of work that boot around and until it pops on. And you want to make sure that it's seated all the way around, because if it's not seated, you're going to have air leaks. And when there's too much air to not enough fuel, your bike doesn't run right. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen this clamp off a little bit. They're not hard to loosen. Slide it on, and you have a little ridge here in the middle. You want to get it past that ridge all the way back, because if not, it's going to squeeze on the front side of it and it could work itself off. You don't want that. You want it past that ridge all the way around, even on the bottom. The bottom's kind of hard to see, so you just kind of do it until it's on there, and you can kind of twist it a little bit. It's not easy to twist by any means, so don't think it's just going to flop around on you, because I've got this clamp just about all the way loosened. There's not a whole lot more loosening I can do to it. Once it's on there, once again, ooh, that's a little fast. You just want to tighten it down. Not too much though, just enough to hold it. Because like I said, it's rubber. You don't want to tear it up before you even, get to have fun with it. Now, before we put the carburetor on, let's revisit this. Remember all this crap I talked about, the red sealant? We got to get all that off, because that could also break down and either A, get inside your engine, which you don't want, or B, it can cause air leaks, and you don't want that. Once again, it's going to suck if you get all this back together and then it doesn't run, or it doesn't run right. So I'm going to run over and grab a little wire brush real quick, and then we're going to brush this off and keep going. So I use a brass brush because I don't want to tear up or scar the aluminum too bad. You just want to work your way around until it's all clean, because anything that is going to prohibit that seal could cause you problems, and you don't want that. So we're just going to clean it all the way around. Alright, so before we put the carburetor on, we're going to have to reattach our throttle cable, because if not, you no longer go vroom vroom. And everyone likes to go vroom vroom. So, what you want to do is, this is the way it mounts up, back, front. You want to take this one, this is your front one, slide it in there, flip it around, and then twist your throttle cable the other way to give you more leverage. You want to slide that down in behind your pumper push rod and all the way around. And it's kind of a trick, but you twist it because it has to line up with that bottom groove there. So you got to twist it, pop it in, and then wiggle it around. Bada bing, bada boom. Just like that. And so then you take your screws, and these are a real pain in the butt to get to. So I like to use a magnetic Phillips. If you don't have one, you can buy some pretty cheap from Harbor Freight, Amazon, so on and so forth. Put one in. I don't typically tighten it all the way up just yet, just because you don't want to get it too tight and then realize, oh no, my other hole's not lined up all the way. So you want to work it in there just like that. Tighten her down. Once you get that bottom one tightened down nice and tight, you want to tighten the top one down. And I am using the Work Pro set off of Amazon. I can't remember exactly how much they run. It's like 30 bucks, I think, 20, 30 bucks. They're really good. They're really good quality screwdrivers. So before we go all the way on with it, you want to put your fuel line on there, because it is a pain in the butt to try and get it on there once you put the carburetor on, because once again, you don't have a whole lot of room to work. And then take your little spring clamp there, and I typically take and just put a little bit of pressure in the middle of it, try and separate them out, just to give it that little extra oomph, you know. You want to make sure that all of your stuff is lined up here. I'm going to move the camera just a little bit so you can see better. I'm going to go on a little bit different zoom there. So you want to make sure that, once again, your boot is in the right, articulated in the correct position. And then you want to slide this on, and you will have to kind of fiddle with these hoses and your cold start valve to get it up there right. And then you just wiggle it on there and press it on. And well, it's not liking me right now, so there, got it on. Once you get it on, we're gonna take our 7mm and we're gonna move this out of the way just so we can get to that clamp. So you got that clamp right there. You're gonna take your 7mm, get on it, make sure you're in the groove right. You're just gonna tighten that down till it don't go nowhere. Doesn't have to be super tight. I mean, it does have to be tight, but not like overly tight, you know. So I've got it about where I want it. It's not slipping. You can see the boots flexing, but the actual carburetor is not slipping off of said boot. Alright, now that we have your carburetor installed and everything, you're going to want to get your throttle position and sensor plug and plug it back in where it's nice and snug, clicked in. And then we're going to want to put our vacuum lines back on that we pulled off earlier. So the way I have mine set up is a T. Let me zoom out. The T, your long side goes to your carburetor, this side goes to your petcock, and then this goes to the intake. So what I do is you can either wiggle it in on this side. It's a little bit kind of a pain in the butt in my opinion, So if you just slide it right through here, you can see it right there, grab it with those fingers, pull it on through, bada bing, you're there. So you want to take your vacuum line, once you get it routed, and you'll see this right here. It is the air blocker valve. Just slide it on. If it has a hard time going on, just get you a pair of or get you some silicone lubricant, and it should slide on just fine. So I'm gonna clamp that down a little bit, and we're gonna work this up there. You don't have to use these clamps, but I do just for extra security. I've had vacuum lines pop off in the past on these non-barbed um, uh, connections, and I just don't want it to happen again. So moving over here, now that you have all of this hooked up and you don't have to work there anymore, take your overflow hose. You'll have a hole right here on your carb bracket or your carb bowl, and you'll run it down. And I typically run mine behind the fuel line, and it goes on this little connection point right here. It just slides on. There's no clamp, no nothing. It's just an overflow. You don't have to worry about if it falls off, is it going to damage anything? Am I going to die while I'm driving down the road? You're not. It's just an overflow. Coming around here to this side, we have this vacuum line here that goes on this brass outlet right here, and our connection point. And I'm going to slide it on. It should slide on pretty easy. I ordered on this vacuum line hose, I ordered some extra beefy 3.5 millimeter hose, so it fits snug already, but once again, I like that little added protection, so I typically use clamps just to be on the safe side. You know, I've had vacuum lines come off driving before. It's not fun. It messes up, it shuts off your petcock. Um, it shuts off your blocker hose or your blocker valve on your carburetor, your air block, and it can kill your motor. And then you're sitting there on the side of the road trying to figure out what's wrong. And it's just one of these little guys. So this right here is the factory style, very, very thin wall, very flimsy. This is very thick, very sturdy. It's also heat resistant. So I don't have to worry about, oh, is it going to melt because it's right here by the heads? I don't have to worry about that. So now once we have this in, we're going to take our cold start valve, and we're going to tighten it up. If I can figure out which way is left and right. So it should tighten up pretty easy. And like I said, you can use a wrench. It is plastic. I have really strong hands, so I typically just do it by hand, and I don't ever have a problem with it. It's literally there just to go back and forth whenever you go to start the bike on a cold start. All right, so there you have it. That is how we install carburetor boots and intake manifold boots on a 04 Honda VTX1300. My next video is going to be how to replace the petcock and remount the tank and everything to the bike. It's very simple, but you also want to make sure that you are running an OEM petcock because it has a different valve in it. They build the aftermarket ones really cheaply unless you get a good brand. If you just go on Amazon and you order one, which is what the guy did here, it does not allow a free flow. It almost like it's choking itself out, and you start running low on fuel in your fuel filter and your carburetor bowl, and then you have more issues throttling up, air fuel mixture, all that good stuff. So next video is going to be how to install a factory OEM petcock valve on a 04 Honda VTX and up. It's like '04, I think, to '08 or '09, somewhere in there. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But yeah, that's how you do this, and I will post a link to the video of how to rebuild this grand old carburetor here. It is very meticulous. So I'll post a video on it, or I'll post the link in the comments or in my bio. Y'all have a great day, and welcome to my very first tutorial video on how to work on stuff. I work on things I work on a very wide range of things, so stay tuned. You'll have plenty of more content to watch. I'm going to try to release at least 1 or 2 videos a week on DIY content, and I will release more videos along the way of other stuff too. So y'all just stay tuned, keep watching, and like, follow, share, comment, all the good stuff. Y'all have a good day.